Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do what the old heads used to do back in the day when they knew there was a lot of bad news to report on. They'd ask you one question, right? You want the good news or the bad news first? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, there's so much bad news to report. I'm going to kick this rant off positive by talking the good news first. First things foremost, let's give Taylor a whole bunch of credit. She rose above tons of adversity. She's a phoenix rising from the ashes. She's the first black person to ever win a wall endurance comp. The only two women to have won HOH this season have been black women. Her ability to stay mentally strong, no matter what storm approaches her, is why we support her. It's why we stand her. And salute to her for getting all them Lay's chips bags in her HOH basket. Now, the reason why in this 21st rant's entitled Hale or High Water is for several reasons, but the first reason being, y'all floaters better grab a life vest this week. And secondly, I could create the argument that Joseph and Taylor are making so many waves that they just might drown in it within the game. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed, the Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon exclusively sponsored, Hall of Fame, Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. I'm, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smid Dog Trill, The Rant God, Hotep Thanos, Throne Thanos, Metro Kaiba, the Pro Black Prodigy, the Shadow Realm Shaman, the Pronoun Punisher, the No Sleep Assassin, he who cannot be canceled, the Apex Analyst, here to bring balance back to Big Brother 24, all of the above on that ISET test and ACT hardcore. You know what it is. And we're back for the 21st rant. We're in week 6, and there's a lot for us to discuss tonight, Coach. All right, I had to catch up on some feeds because I was busy yesterday. My apologies for being so late tonight, but that's the reason for these tings. But what you got to understand is, I was always very concerned, not of the fact that Taylor would be a poor HOH. I was concerned over the fact that she was willing to let Daniel make jury just so she could have a notable target for jury. I was always concerned if Taylor's willing to allow Daniel to outlast Monte just so she has a target, she may not know what to do if she wins HOH, and she may not know how to spin her narrative to justify her target once she now no longer has Daniel to go after. That's what we have this week. Now, the narrative is, hey guys, y'all know who I wanted out before Daniel. It's always been Monte, so that's what we're trying to do. Monte's capable of winning comps. He can't be an initial nom. The bestie twist is gone. In theory, all she needs is 2 pawns, one in which will win the veto, take themselves off. She throws up Monte, everyone's happy. Now, here's the thing. Taylor made a massive mistake. Massive mistake. I'm talking, whew. You don't expect these type of mistakes from a superfan. Understand, she promised safety. Okay, so on the wall comp itself, she promised Kyle and Joseph safety if they fail and threw it to her. Now, Kyle didn't throw it to her, so in my opinion, it shouldn't still count for him. Because he didn't fall down because he wanted to. He fell down because he couldn't go no further. Which proves to me he was trying to beat you out for HOH because he didn't really trust you that much, Taylor. Which tells me the lie that Terrence spread about Taylor being after Kyle could believe in his subconscious. But we'll get to Kyle later because Kyle might be an unlikely savior of this week depending on how he uses the veto. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. So what you got to understand is she promised Kyle and Joseph safety already. That's 2 people off the board. Now, it's 11 people left, so she only has 10 people to choose from. That means she only has 8 to choose from now. Then she goes, not only promises Alyssa safety because she's in the showmance and she wants them to have sex in the house. Weird reasoning. Okay, now she only chooses between 7 people. Then she promises Indy and Jasmine they're safe because Jasmine's black and this is Jasmine's birthday week, so she doesn't want to throw her up, even though Jasmine deserves that karma. But from a codified standpoint, I ain't mad at you, Taylor, but understand. And as for Indy, she says she won't throw her up because she clearly is trying to work on this reclamation project with the ladies. Now, us as being live feeders, we know for a fact that all those women hate Taylor equally, okay? They can't stand the ground she walks on for different reasons. Alyssa hated her because she thought she wanted Kyle. Indy hated her because she thought she wanted Chico. And, of course, you got Jasmine, who I believe always hated Taylor And it's starting to come out more and more. Brittany has also exposed Jasmine. Apparently, Jasmine has these demons, these skeletons in her closet from being a pageant girl in high school. So she looks at Taylor, a woman who actually made it, did the damn thing in that exact lane, the same lane Jasmine quit, and she sees somebody who has a mental edge over her. And that's exactly why Jasmine will always hate on that woman. And that's why Brittany is trying to get Taylor to see the light. Now, here's the thing. Taylor knows Jasmine ain't shit. I'm just going to come out straight up and say it. She knows Jasmine ain't shit. But for Taylor's game, she also knows, and this is where I'm going to give her a little benefit of the doubt. For the position her and Brittany in are within the 7, they can't afford to take out women themselves. They got to let the other 5 men within that 7 do that. In theory, it's up to Brittany and it's up to Taylor to start taking out some of these men. The thing is, Terrence is the only man left outside of the leftovers. So for Taylor, the only obvious move for her to dwindle the male numbers without pissing off the 7 is to target Terrence. Now, in my opinion, I think she wouldn't have went after Terrence if he wasn't dumb enough during the damn HOH endurance comp when she's trying to talk to him. He tells her, don't talk to me. Soon as Taylor wins HOH, gets her HOH room, what's the first thing come out of this loser Terrence mouth? Hey, guys, can you let the old guy get his one-on-one first? Oh, now you want to talk to her. Exposed. Don't worry, we'll get into Terrence in a second, too. Understand the guy is all over the place, all right? He's flip-flopping enough to sell the Yeezy sliders his damn self as well, but understand, a lot of people hitch their ride to the Daniel side, and now they look foolish. Now Terrence wants the world to believe he's alone in this game and he needs someone to pick him up. Why couldn't you see that before Daniel left? Why didn't you put your ducks in a row and not be the one vote that voted to keep Daniel when the rest of the house wanted him out? Why ostracize yourself? You want to play an anti-black game. The minute Taylor wins HOH, though, you want to hold being pro-black over her head as if she owes you now. That's not how this works, brother. And I would love to defend you, but I can't. In the same way I said Monte deserves a second chance, what did he do with that second chance ever since he's been on code? All we've asked, Terrence, is that you've seen the light and you start acting accordingly. We can't even get that from you, brother. And that's the saddest part, because when you were defeated, when you were willing to quit on the block next to Ameerah, we were the ones saying, nah, don't quit. You here for your wife. Woo out the bam. But now I'm hearing when Daniel got evicted, when the episode went off air, I hear that you was crying in the cut. You was legit whinging over it. Are you kidding me, coach? How you gonna cry over Daniel's departure, then walk up to Taylor, the woman he berated, and then try to pull that pro-black stuff with her when you just got done shedding tears for one of the most anti-black players of the season? Terrence, I'm sorry. Nobody can condone your actions, brother. And some of your comments towards women, they're enough to bury you anyway. But we gonna let the women get at you when it comes to that. I've already told patrons my thoughts towards that. And by the way, we had a fantastic Patreon exclusive on Thursday night. Being able to witness history, witness Taylor's victory with the patrons, it is something I'm gonna try to do once a season at least. If we get more and more HOH endurance wall comps, I'm gonna try to turn those into Patreon exclusives moving forward because it was such a fantastic experience. And I highly recommend y'all become a patron today to witness that rant because, man, that was really fun. So shout outs to all of y'all. But let's get back to the strategy of the week so I don't lose myself. So Taylor, she needs 2 pawns to go up. Initially, in the middle of the night, she says, you know what? I'm willing to throw up Turner. I'm willing to throw up Monte initially. And I'm like, whoa, Taylor. Whoa. Let's calm that down. Right now, you ain't balling. You on that Robert tractor trailer. You ain't Taylor yet. You feel it in? We need that old Taylor back. I don't know what it is week to week when it comes to this 7-person alliance, but it feels like every week there's someone new who tries to do a little too much to try to please that other side. And it's way too cute. You need to just play it safe most of the time. And don't get it twisted. It's entertaining. It's a reason to keep watching because at any moment I feel like I can miss something that's monumental. But with that said, Coach, this week was fairly self-explanatory. If you really wanted a man gone, if Terrence is the only man outside of the 7, don't promise all the other women who are coming out of the old school alliance with Terrence, don't promise all of them they'll be safe all week. This forces Taylor to talk to her alliance about it. Monte's like, I just think your heart is just too pure for a game like this. See, Monte's trying to tell her, you're off your square, but he's trying to lead her to the promised land. He's not trying to push his agenda necessarily because he know how it'll come off. So he's trying to kind of guide her to the right decision. Same with Michael. Michael told her straight up, like, hey, yo, if you got to decide on a pawn next to Terrence, and this is also what Turner said, it has to be two people outside of the 7 that are the 2 pawns. It makes no sense whatsoever to throw up someone within the 7 initially. Because in theory, someone like Alyssa could win Veto. She takes off Indy. And now you have 2 people, or in theory, you can have 1 person guaranteed from your alliance on the block. And if you do end up putting Monte up, it's 2 of us on the block, which we know Taylor wouldn't have done if there was someone from the alliance already up. But you get my point. It just creates unnecessary risks that this alliance doesn't have to take because they've already taken the calculated risk when they got rid of Nicole. Now, I got to be honest with you, though, Taylor. I was skeptical of what Monte had to say during his HOH week. Patrons will remember this. Maybe the public does as well. I can't remember which rant I mentioned this in. But if you remember, during week 4, Monte specifically was very concerned with taking Daniel out before Nicole because he always thought Taylor would try to run back to the women and try to possibly start something on the side with them. Taylor, all you're doing is justifying why Monte decided Nicole had to go before Daniel with your actions now post-Daniel leaving because you're trying so hard to acquiesce to the wishes of women that will never truly rock with you. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to be devil's advocate a little bit here and admit I do believe some of Taylor's gameplay is working on Alyssa this week. Why? She promised Alyssa she wouldn't touch the block. She hasn't touched the block. She promised Kyle he wouldn't touch the block. He hasn't touched the block. Her giving Alyssa a free week has to earn something from Kyle because Kyle cares a lot about Alyssa outside of the 7. Also, this week, Taylor picked Alyssa for Veto. Listen, that was a big decision because now Alyssa is on feeds telling Kyle she trusts Taylor and Brittany more than Indy and Jasmine. So, hey, we're going to hold Taylor accountable tonight for making some blunders, but some things she got right too. Because here's the thing, y'all. If Alyssa is starting to trust Taylor and Brittany more than Indy and Jasmine, you know what that means? Kyle just might want to work with Joseph, Taylor, Brittany, Michael, and Alyssa as his final 6. It's possible. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it's possible. Now, I want to stay in chronological order here, but I'm going to get to why I think Kyle could be the savior based off of that tidbit I just told y'all. I think Alyssa could play a huge factor in why Kyle would be willing to keep Noms the same this week and just let Indy or Terrence go. Because in his mind, using Veto, getting Joseph thrown off, that just makes his game harder too because Joseph is within this fly swatters, this fake alliance. Let me explain this. Kyle and Joseph were recruited by Jasmine, Alyssa, and Indy, I believe, into a 5-person alliance. It was really a 6-person alliance that included Terrence, but now that Terrence and Indy are both on the block, Terrence has basically been kicked out by the women. So this is why he started to think it might be the best strategy for him to volunteer to touch the block if Noms were to change. Because in Joseph's mind, okay, if the women are losing trust in Terrence, if they're already kicking him out, if I can be the hero of those women by volunteering to go up over one of them when Taylor eventually changes her mind on Monte, because that was the plan all along, Joseph thinks possibly he can not only safeguard Taylor throwing up Joseph would throw people off the scent that they're not as close as they truly are, even though I believe that would have never worked, but I digress. And Joseph truly believed at that moment that if he volunteered to touch the block, not only could it safeguard Taylor's game, but he also believed he could possibly bring Taylor into the fold into that fake fly swatters alliance later, which would guarantee the women wouldn't come after Taylor after this week. Now, here's the thing. We watch these live feeds. We know the hate for Taylor is strong, and that's why I got to give Brittany some credit. Brittany has been the voice of reason, in my opinion, all weekend with Taylor telling her, listen, I understand your reasonings and I respect them for why you're not going after Jasmine, but that woman will never rock with you. In fact, when Taylor was up there during the HOH comp, during that endurance, and it was her versus Kyle and Joseph, Jasmine was the main one moaning and whinging about the idea that Taylor could be cutting a deal with those two. And that's why in the thumbnail, I got Jasmine looking so salty. She's like, yeah, because that's how she truly feels within. Now, she's making it seem like around Taylor, oh, I'm so happy for you as a black woman. Yeah, girl, woo, woo, woo. Everybody and their mama grifting. If you look at all the one-on-ones that happened first, all of it was the ops. You feel me? Terrence came in first. I think Indy came in second. I think Alyssa came in third. Jasmine came in fourth. All of them in a big rush to talk to her. Big time rush Nickelodeon settings. But with that said, it's good to see that at least Taylor isn't fooled by what the women are saying. She just understands she can't be the one to necessarily take out a woman because that's not who she wanted to be before she got subjected to the Hunger Games. I respect the fact that Taylor isn't trying to change the person she is from a natural, organic standpoint to fit within the confines of the game that was dictated for her. But with that said, I think Taylor could have spooked guys like Turner a little bit. The fact that she was willing to possibly throw him up when Turner was the first white person all season to really stand up for her, that didn't sit right for me. It didn't sit right with a lot of fans watching that. I'm going to keep it a bean there. Now, because she, and see, another thing that I need to mention, I believe Michael's HOH from a week ago is heavily influencing what Taylor wants to do with hers. Because if you remember, Michael was the guy who refused to throw up a woman. So Taylor almost went into this HOH believing she could do that same thing. I'm going to make a deal with all the women so no woman touches the block all week. I want two guys to be my pawns. I want the fake plan to be Monte's going. But really, I want Terrence to leave, and I want nouns to not really change. So you got to understand, it's a game within a game within a game being played, but it's real sloppy along the way, right? I'd argue someone like Taylor shouldn't even be trying to play games within the games within the games. And when you got a guy like Joseph who's overplaying his hand at every turn, in my opinion, I told patrons this, I thought Joseph was playing the most similar game to Tiffany's from BB23 because he's constantly trying to keep that other door ajar to working with the other side. My guy, who cares if the line is drawn at this point? Are you really threatened by 1 foot Jasmine, Alyssa, who's starting to actually grow to like you, Joseph, and Taylor, or Indy? Are you really that threatened by them enough to risk volunteering to throw yourself, pooching yourself out of this game? It's not worth the risk, bro. That's why, from a fan's perspective, we're looking at this because we got to understand, Michael and Brittany, they're open to turning on Joseph here. They look at it as, listen, we're going to wait until the veto results, but understand, Michael was like, I hope I'm picked for veto. Michael was willing to win 4 vetoes in a row just to get Joseph backdoored. Like Michael, this man's the Terminator. Like, chill out, Sarah Connors. Chill out. You feel a dig me? But you got to understand, Michael and Brittany have to see that Joseph is doing a little too much. And the more Joseph does, the more it blows back on Taylor. And that blows back on their possible final 3. For them, they must think if they get rid of Joseph ASAP, Taylor has no one else but them because deep down in her heart, she can't really read Monte. She calls him the politician. That might be his comic book at the end. They might call him the politician. I don't know. But she calls Monte the politician. So even though she works with Monte well, even though Monte clearly has her best interest, I really do believe that Michael and Brittany want Joseph gone so they could have Taylor to themselves, so they can be the number one person whispering in her ear and being her wise counsel, and so they can keep her from making the same blunders that she made this week again. So that's basically what's going on. Indy was completely bamboozled and blindsided by the idea that she had to touch the block because originally Taylor told her no women would. Of course, this ticked off Indy, but at the end of the day, Jasmine never touched the block. Joseph wants to figure out a way to wait this Fly Swatters alliance out so the women eventually eat themselves, blow up the alliance themselves, which gives him an excuse to turn on them. But I just think the amount of time wasted in trying to wait that out and the amount of energy wasted in being around people he clearly doesn't rock with as much as the rest of the 7, I just think it's just going to do Joseph's game a disservice in the long run. At the end of the day, he should be building bonds with the 7 because they are the most likely people to win the next HOH. And with this new twist coming, with this double eviction looming, with the house being split in 2, right? This game can go one or two ways, right? If Joseph leaves because his dumb ass talks Kyle into using a veto so he can touch the block to cover for Taylor, and I'm going to be honest with you, Joseph, this feels like main character syndrome on your part. It feels like you're trying super hard to make sure you get as much TV time as Taylor does when this week should be about her, not you. I'm going to be completely constructive here. And it's rare I have this much critique of Joseph, but up until this point, I thought Joseph was playing fantastic. This was the week Joseph should have throttled the engine down. because Taylor's HOH. You don't throttle it up more because she's HOH. That defeats the purpose of having a possible showmance in power. Kyle wouldn't be working harder if Alyssa was HOH. He'd be working less hard. And that's one compliment I'll give Kyle. And here's the thing, production. Because you didn't hold Kyle accountable last week, because you allowed him to throw Alyssa under the bus for being the rotten egg that influenced all the other people on the outside to want Monte gone before Daniel, I personally believe production has a responsibility here to talk Kyle into not using Veto as well, because here's the thing. Kyle will look like a massive hypocrite if he goes out of his way to use a Veto he doesn't have to use. He doesn't like Indy. He doesn't really like Terrence. He thought both of them were in the cookout too. In theory, he has no reason to save neither one of them unless he wants Joseph gone. And if he wants Joseph gone, then they should have showed the true Kyle a week ago. So now, it's almost incumbent upon Kyle to make sure Nam stay the same so he stays looking like the guy who's all about the 7. Because if Kyle changes his mind at the last second again and decides he's not about the 7 when it's convenient again, when Taylor gave him and his showmans a week off, it's once again going to show how ungrateful the man is. Because all Taylor is doing is extending olive branches, which should, in theory, give Joseph some benefit of the doubt with that showmance as well. And as a fellow showmance, they should want another showmance around, the same reason why Taylor prioritized keeping them safe, because she views them as a shield for her too with Joseph. You get what I'm saying here? From a symbiotic relationship standpoint, it doesn't make sense for Kyle to want Joseph gone before Monte. At least. At least. And at the end of the day, you do not want to run the risk of these 4 outsiders winning one comp during the double somehow, the game gets split half and half somehow, and then all of a sudden, okay, the 7 is down to 6. Then they win the next one during the double. Now the 7's down to 5 in one night. You lose 2 numbers. Now all of a sudden it's 5 versus 4. Now all of a sudden, Michael and Brittany might just flip over. You never know. Now all of a sudden, what? Does it become 6 versus 4? Well, 6 versus 3? So all I'm saying is, I could see a scenario where all 7 of these players could squander things if they don't batten down the hatch. And they have to all realize, they have to all understand, and even Taylor knows, for Joseph to touch the block this week during her HOH week, it's just too risky. Even if he survives, and see, from a fan perspective, from a Taylor fan standpoint, nobody wants to even risk the chance of her being completely heartbroken over people who claim to have her back, scheming against a guy who's not even kissed her yet, which blows up the 7, which was meant to protect her mental health. It would completely ruin all the progress built since week 3. So understand, I think, and this is why I'm dropping this rant tonight, not tomorrow after the episode. I want people to know everything I got to say is what I think. It's not based off what the edit says or what anyone else has to say. I want people to know these are truly my takes. Now, the reason why I brought up the Alyssa thing, her having more trust building in Brittany and Taylor than Indy and Jasmine. Listen, she sees a sinking ship in Indy and Jasmine, clearly. And if she sees that sinking ship, and if Kyle sees an opportunity where Alyssa and Taylor don't have to beef, if Kyle is defending Taylor and Brittany in front of Alyssa, when just a couple of weeks ago he was bashing Taylor to Alyssa, listen, that's a 180 that they don't have to take when they're just alone with each other. See, when they're alone with each other, they're telling the truth. They don't have no incentive to just lie, especially on Taylor's name, from what we've seen in the past, the context. So this tells me that if Taylor did get some things wrong, she could still end up better off if she can come out of this week with Joseph still in the game, because the players in the 7 are going to assume she's not that smart after what they've been witnessing. If anything, I think this week, if Joseph doesn't leave, it could help Taylor completely fool the house into thinking she's dumber than she actually is. I honestly do believe the reason why this week was so messy is because she didn't have a legitimate target that shouted at her left in the house. So now she's got to come up with a reason. She's got to make people choke to give her a reason. But she also doesn't want to be what these women were to her, right? She doesn't want to be that person who just stumps y'all out because she can. That would make Taylor a hypocrite as well. So listen, I can admit that she made mistakes, But I can also admit all of this can go away if Kyle takes this second chance he's been given to redeem himself. Listen, Kyle, if I said Monte deserves a second chance, same thing applies for you, my man. You keep them noms the same this week, coach. Skip what Joseph's saying, ignore them. Keep noms the same this week. Guarantee the person Taylor truly wants gone in Terrence. At the end of the day, you should look at this as a net positive anyway, because one of the Cookout 2 members are gone. All right? The 7's intact. You padded your stats by winning a veto, and you didn't have to win HOH to get out of Target. You probably would have went after. This should be a win-win-win, and Alyssa safe. In theory, Kyle should be wanting to do with this veto what Taylor requests of him to do. And I believe before now and Monday afternoon, Taylor will see the light and tell Joseph to calm your ass down. Calm down. You're not touching the block. Because I'm telling y'all right now, I'm worried that if that veto's used on Terrence, Joseph might not stay over Indy. But I do believe Joseph would stay over Terrence. Either way, both votes could come down to a 5-5 tie, and I don't want that on Taylor. Because here's the thing, if due to 5-5 tie, she cuts someone not named Joseph, doesn't that defeat the purpose of Joseph being thrown up by Taylor to throw people off the scent that they're not that close? So why even run that risk? You see what I'm saying? No matter how you shake it, coach, and I'm trying to use the same telepathy I used with Michael last week. Patrons, remember this. Taylor, make sure Kyle does not use veto. You see me? I got to use the Jonine Joseph strategy right now. And I'm going to be honest, Joseph. Your chakra levels are dwindling a little bit. I need them to get back up to where they were the first 5 weeks of this game, dog. I don't know, bro. I don't know. You giving me them Lawan vibes right now. You need to calm down. Now, as for the veto itself, ladies and gentlemen, this week it was a punishment reward competition. I have the details of the comp in front of me. Joseph didn't participate in the veto. The veto picks were Jasmine, Alyssa, and Kyle. A little too perfect if production wanted Kyle to force a flip this week, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying. Once again, I'm running with the idea that Kyle's going to redeem himself. Listen, production, I'm giving y'all the benefit of the doubt here, okay? See, we're trying to be more mature about this. Jasmine won a trip to London. Kyle won the veto. Indy has to wear a unitard, which should be funny. Alyssa won $5,000. And Terrence has to rock fake tattoos for the rest of the week. Really weird, really bizarre punishment. Fake tattoos? You talking about one of them things you get from a gumball machine at Baker Square back in the day? You feel it, Digby coach? You know what I'm saying? Remember them fake tattoos back in the day? You put like 2 quarters in it and you get it and then you stamp it on it. I felt so cool with one of them back in the day. You couldn't tell me nothing, boy. I wouldn't jump in the shower, though. It'd smear. You feel it? I'd be funky around that one side, boy. Oh, man. As for the punishments, Joseph didn't compete in veto, but he is now shackled and or chained to Taylor this week despite not competing. So you know production is trying to ship them. And here's the thing, production. Why chain them together if you don't want Kyle to not use veto, baby? I mean, come on. Do you really want them chained together, sweating and nervous about Kyle using the veto, Joseph being sent home? I mean, come on, man. We don't need to see a Romeo and Juliet type tragedy. Come on, baby. Listen. The same way y'all prioritize that showmance and y'all give that showmance publicity, just because y'all made it seem like Taylor's more into her chips than Joseph does not mean y'all need to turn on Joe this soon, all right? Let Joe, let him get back in here, let him make it to week 7, baby. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, that's where it stands right now. Kyle's the veto holder. We don't know what he's going to do. Based off what I've seen, it makes more sense for him not to use it than to use it. But if Joseph keeps begging for them to give him the opportunity to prove himself by sitting on the block and blah, 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 they just might call that bluff, coach. I need someone to fly with a banner and tell and it to say, Joseph, just shut up, bro. Huh? I need someone to show up to the wall with a megaphone and be like, Taylor, go with your heart, not your head, or something. I need somebody to shout something, because what we don't need is for Joseph to leave before the Terrances and Indies of this world. I'm sorry. That's what we don't need. All right. I want a final 6, final 7 that feels like the Infinity War. All right. I don't want a few characters that feel like NPCs left. I don't want that. I don't know about y'all. I don't like NPCs at the end of the game. You feel it, dig me? I don't like people that aren't meant to really make a difference towards the end. I don't like that because they just get dragged to the end. You know what I'm saying? They're just a +1 for a good player, right? I want so many good players at the end that people don't know who to cut first. They like, damn, if I cut him, he might wash me. If I cut her, she might dog walk me. That's what we want to see, baby. And in my opinion, this 7-person alliance, as a group, has worked together to do so many great things. They all have an argument to the crown here. I still believe Turner has the best shot to win based off of how the numbers are shaking right now. But still, though, I truly believe anyone within this 7 can win this game. I truly believe it, especially if Kyle doesn't use Veto this week. You feel it, dig me? You feel it, dig me, coach? I believe it's possible. But ladies and gentlemen, now I'm ready to answer your questions. I'm ready to hear your thoughts on this week. This episode is mainly therapy for the streets, okay? Listen, this week was self-explanatory. It was very simple if Taylor would have allowed it to be. But with that said, if she somehow comes out of this week with Joseph intact, Alyssa's trust intact, I'd argue that's a net positive for a game. Because if she could just get one out of those 3 girls to see her game a little differently, Taylor has different pivoting prowess heading into Final 9, Final 8. And that's what it all comes down to. And honestly, even though I told you all I wanted Taylor to possibly take out Alyssa because that was the biggest threat left on the board among the outsiders, I see why she doesn't want to make that move right now. That's her and Joseph's only real shield, another showman's. And since they're further on the progress chart in terms of doing some things under some sheets already, they are the de facto shield over them. Now, at the end of the day, it still sucks that whatever Joseph does, even if his intentions are somewhat good to protect the 7, he still is being vilified in ways a lot darker by the Brittany's and Michaels than they ever did Kyle. Don't worry, I'm taking notes of that. But with that said, all can be forgiven if we just keep them noms the same this week. But yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, I'm on my way to the Bat Cave. I want to hear your thoughts. I think it was important for me to drop this rant tonight. The streets needed this. Listen, man, a lot of people overreacted. They're going a little too hard on Taylor. Listen, man, I got some good sleep Thursday night. When I found out Taylor won HOH, I slept like a baby, baby. You feel it, dig? I ain't had to watch feeds. I was like, listen, I trust her. You feel it, dig me? I wake up, and it's like the Childish Gambino meme. I got the pizza in my hand, and I'm just surrounded by hellfire and brimstone. You know what I'm saying? Or hell or high water. But with that said, you know what I mean? It is what it is, man. I hope y'all enjoying yourself tonight. I hope y'all enjoying this rant. But I will say this, though. Hopefully Taylor has learned from her mistake. That is key. Hopefully Joseph doesn't continue to believe playing both sides is optimal for his game. Monte tried to tell you all last week, this is an unnecessary risk. Now that the bestie twist is gone, who cares? Let's draw that line in the sand and let's go to battle. Hajime. You know, like Monte, he's ready to get it cracking. Monte is like Idris Elba in Suicide Squad 2. You feel it, dig me? He ready to let it bust. Pause. But with that said, some people are a little gun shy on this team. And at the end of the day, now's not the time to be gun shy. You know, this alliance took out Daniel and Nicole Taylor. The last thing we need to see is you throwing up Joseph and you being subjected to trauma because your final 3 decides to evict your showmans before we even make it to final 10. Oh, man, when you talk about abusive relationship, that would be horrible to look at. And for those reasons, I just don't see Brittany and Michael doing it this soon. I mean, listen, if they did do it, big move. How do you explain yourself to Taylor after that? People are going to know where the votes lie. They're going to know. You see what I'm saying? And based off how the numbers shake, I can tell y'all this. It feels like Monte, Turner. Well, it feels like Monte, Kyle, and Turner prefer Indy to go over Terrance. It feels like a lot of the women prefer Terrance to go over Indy. But it really feels like Turner, Kyle, Brittany, and Michael really want Jasmine going over all those players on the outside. They view her as the one who's retaining a lot of information, keeping it from their side, and she's already won at HOH, so technically speaking, she's the only one with a resume on that side. I could see why they would want Taylor to go back on her word and to backdoor Jasmine before a Joseph. And that really is another saving grace of all this. But see, this is why I said, if Taylor is not going to promise to backdoor Jasmine, Kyle should never use the veto. Like honestly, I just don't see it. I just don't think it's good gameplay, because then you blow up the 7 prematurely. Now all the pressure is on the people who turned on Joseph to keep winning HOH, And if they don't win at HOH, then they're giving incentive to the people who voted out Terrence or Indy to then use that HOH to take them out. And then before you know it, like I said, the 4 people on the outside make it to Final 7 themselves. I'm telling you, man, that's not what fans need to be watching. I'm telling you, it's not going to be worth it. And see, I wanted to wait this rant out until tomorrow night because I wanted to do recaps of every Taylor HOH episode. But I really thought it was important to give my position, my point of view on this. But yeah, for future reference, if you are a fan of this game and you would like to play this game at a high frequency level, never overpromise anything, especially when you're promising things to players who've never really made a promise to you and kept it. You got Jasmine out here telling her, I never wanted you to go home my week. I knew you would always stay, and that's why I nominated you next to Pucciarelli. That's a lie. Everyone who remembers week 2 remembers Jasmine actually wanted Taylor gone over Pucciarelli. She just allowed Ameerah and Nicole to have their way. She's full of crap across the board. I'm trying to think. Indy, I don't even know why Indy feels so slighted by Taylor nominating her. This is the woman who said Taylor would win the game a couple of weeks ago. This is the woman who threatened to throw soup in Taylor's face just because Taylor said the soup tasted good when she was a have-not. I mean, let's just keep it real here. It's a lot of entitlement in this house, and I don't know where the entitlement comes from because none of these people have done anything to earn any power, to earn any IOUs. I mean, I just don't see where this comes from. It's very unbecoming. And when you got someone like Indy who's telling people, I don't want to be in the jury. I'd rather be home making money. Well, you are making money in the jury. But, I get it, though. I wouldn't want to be the first jury boot myself. But at least they're going to make it a double so you won't be alone. But with that said, though, yeah, I'm very disappointed in Joseph. From a power ranking standpoint, needless to be said, he's out of the top 5 this week. When you create so many self-inflicted wounds for yourself, I can't talk myself into you being top 5 this week. Please don't forget to smash that like button, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. As a result, my top 5 are as follows. Number 1 is still Turner. Number 2, I'm going Brittany. I think she's just rising as every week goes by. Listen, that worst to first is starting to age really well. I'm just telling you. People, after the first couple of weeks, people are like, I don't know about Brittany, bro. She a leaky faucet, my guy. Now they're seeing it. They're seeing the potential come out. Listen, her archetype just needs to blend in a little bit, get some information, and before you know it, you're in trouble. And Joseph might experience that trouble later this week. I hope he doesn't, but it could happen. And honestly, listen, Taylor ain't the one in harm's way. Joseph is. Now, I'm aware of the fact that Taylor's game takes a hit if Joseph leaves, and that's why I'm not rooting for that outcome. But with that said, you just hate to see it. But yeah, Brittany second place. Third place. I'm going to be honest here. Barring that he does not use Veto this week, I got to go Kyle for third place here. Mainly because he doesn't have the threat level of a Monte or a Michael, but he has a free week. He padded his stats this week. He didn't win HOH, but his showmances is still intact, and he may be open to working with Taylor down the line. All of these things are good for Kyle's game, especially since he scrapped the potluck, allegedly. Fourth place. I'm still going to go Michael. Mainly because I can't talk myself into ranking Monte over him because right after Michael's HOH, everyone was back on the we want Monte out train. No one's willing to say we want Michael out. In fact, everyone's running up to Taylor knowing she's cool with Michael, creating the argument that Michael's an honorary woman. So, so pretty much, everyone's trying to tell Taylor, you can trust us because we trust Michael, who we know you're trust, because you're basically trying to do his HOH all over again this week by not nominating women. So yes, Michael deserves to be 4th place. And 5th place, 5th has to be Monte. Mainly because nobody else deserves to be top 5. I don't think Alyssa has done anything to earn that spot necessarily. I think she's very reliant on Kyle, and that's why Kyle is in top 5, top 3 to be exact. But with that said, to have that big threat on you and to still make it out of another week, to an extent, you have to be top 5 because nothing Monte and Michael are doing is I'll say nothing Monte is doing is self-inflicted to make his target bigger. Now, we did figure out this week the big reason why these women are more dead set on taking out Monte over Michael is because Michael gave them a free week last week. Not only that, but because the fight Daniel had with Monte, Daniel basically wanted to discuss the things Monte said about the women being after Daniel, and that was why Monte didn't want Daniel to use the veto because he was creating an argument that the women would be the ones voting out Nicole. Remember that? Daniel wanted to catch Monte up in that lie. Monte wanted to talk about it in private. So Jasmine believes Monte got exposed there, which he kind of did, but I still believe he played it off cool. So I believe these are the reasons why Monte will always be the easy target for the people on the outside. I mean, Terrence is even telling people he thought that Taylor wasted her HOH this week because he thought the nom should have been Michael and Monte. The fact that he believes Taylor would have even done that is a testament to how well the 7 has been so incognito. And for that reason, I want to give them credit as well. But all right, now I'm ready to answer y'all questions. I just wanted to get a few things off my chest, a few things in passing. Y'all know me. I got so many thoughts on my mind. Selena, you probably already got that answered for you. Kyle won the veto. Sandra says Kyle will not use the veto because he is too afraid that Taylor might put up Alyssa. Great point, Sandra. I didn't even think of that. That's a great reason why he won't use it. Joseph's good. Yes, he doesn't have a choice, does he? Thank you. I appreciate that comment, Sandra. And see, that's normally something I would mention. But this is why I love this community. I truly believe we're at the highest frequency of the Big Brother community when it comes to discussing the strategy. So thank you so much for your view and your comment. Mila, she says she would be heartbroken again. Thank you for tonight's rant because the way my anxiety is set up. Don't worry, Mila. I think production knows what they don't need is for that to happen to Taylor on Thursday. Fans are coming up with conspiracy theories. They think Joseph got incepted the idea to volunteer to touch the block from production. I can't substantiate that. And because I didn't see anything that would give me that type of thought process. I just think Joseph was off his square and had main character syndrome a little bit. But with that said, listen, make it out of this week. Let's get to Monday afternoon, baby. You know what I'm saying? Let's get there. Let's just get there. Sounds like Taylor, Brittany, Monte, Turner, Michael are talking, and now Alyssa is the target. Such a confusing week. What? So they might take the shot at Alyssa after all? I don't think Kyle uses the veto. I ain't even gonna give my hope. Listen, if I'm okay with Joseph staying, I'm okay with Alyssa staying. I gotta be that guy. I can't afford to be flip-floppy, dog. I ain't selling slides. You know what I mean? I don't work at White Castle, dog. You feel it? Dig me? I ain't selling slides. Shout out to RRC. Who is leaving this week? Indy. As of right now, it seems like Terrence, but people are saying on feeds it could be Alyssa. So listen, as long as it ain't Joseph, I ain't tripping. And it was never going to be Monte because Taylor's on code. It was always going to be Terrence or Indy or possibly Joseph. But now it sounds like it could be Alyssa. And boy, oh boy, if Kyle backdoors Alyssa out of this game like Daniel backdoored Nicole, oh my days. Oh my days. This might go down as the best season of all time. I mean, there's a lot of things happening that usually only occurs once every 10 years. You feel it? You know what I'm saying? We're seeing a lot of things that are rare in the same season, dog. You know, I'm starting to think I need to start playing the lottery more during this season because things are happening at a rate that we're so unused to. But with that said, thank you so much for your comment. Alice in Acidland says, I would say get rid of Alyssa or Terrance. So essentially, they got Kyle believing that Joseph's going to touch, but really it's going to be Alyssa, because I don't see Kyle being willing to do it unless he believes someone else is touching the block. Because Molly commented and said Taylor, Brittany, Monte, Turner, and Michael want out Alyssa. So that's everybody but Kyle and Joseph. Which makes sense because Kyle and Joseph right now have to be playing both sides with the other side. So it will make sense that that 5 would have more time together than the other 2 with that 5. All right, it's making sense. It's making sense. Look, Alyssa was the one. Shout outs to y'all on Twitter. Alyssa was the one I was saying, hey man, we could take out Alyssa this week. You feel the dig me, coach? You know what I'm saying? The shadow realm awaits. I ain't said that in a while. But it awaits you. And here's the thing. If Taylor somehow gets out Alyssa, that's a way bigger W than taking out Terrence. You talk about that resume, baby. That resume looking different. Now, here's the thing. I initially started off this rant saying, hey, Taylor comes out of this week, Alyssa's on her side, great. But if Taylor somehow comes out of this week, got rid of the showmance without confirming her own showmance, and if someone wins HOH next week, like Turner or Monte or even Joseph, listen, that double tap is strong, man. And during that double eviction, it's finna get real sweaty in the building. Listen, if they could get Alyssa out before that double, it beckons a new question. If Alyssa's gone before the double, and see, that's probably why they want Alyssa gone before, because they know a double's coming. Why take out Terrence before a double? You can get Terrence out during a double. But do you really want to risk the chance of getting Alyssa out during a double when she's the type of player who could win during a double? Take one of y'all out during a double? Listen, I get the strategic acumen of it. I really do. I'm on board. Let's get it cracking. Hey, Kyle, listen, man, I said it's your chance to redeem yourself. Hey, listen, man, even if you ain't down with this, I'm going to take it as you gave them the okay. Because you will have to play that veto for it to play. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. Yeah, they chained together because of the punishment, coach. Kyle is booed up with Alyssa right now, and the rest of the leftovers and HOH plotting on Alyssa. Hey, man, listen. Hey, production must have pulled Michael and Brittany to the side and said, hey, listen, man. That mayonnaise militia y'all was working on, that shit icy. Put on a thick thermal. What the streets really want is for Joseph to go the last airbender on y'all. You feel it? Dig me. Listen, I ain't mad at this. This is great. This is great. And you shouldn't let a showmance just stick around that long. Kyle got second place. Listen, we've seen BB21, and that's what this season almost became. We ain't trying to see another Jackson, and I forgot what his girl's name was because I ain't watched that season like that. But we ain't trying to have that situation again. So, hey, listen, people are learning. I agree with you, Steele. We don't need 3 people in Final 7 playing for second place. Like, I feel like if this 7 makes Final 7, listen, I literally don't know who gets taken out first. Someone might think, I need Monte with me at least until Final 4. Get him out with the veto. But I need him as a shield for me. Like, someone like Turner might think he need Monte. Turner might look at Monte like Dane looked at Sir Anthony Douglas. Like, you're a fantastic player, but I know with this jury, they'll reward me over you because they hating on you. So I'll take you further than Kyle will, than Michael will. That might be Turner's win con. Turner might want Monte to go further than Michael because Michael going crazy. So these are things we need to think about. Yeah, man, Joseph, man, he doesn't realize how close he came to the fire inside of Let It Burn. You feel it? Dig me. It almost got real for you. You don't say good luck. You say don't give up. It's the fire. You feel it? Dig me. My song right there. Shout outs with the Lays. You definitely changed that name recently, but I'm with it. Who is on the block? Who won veto? Currently, Terrence and Indy are on the block. Kyle has won veto, and the 7 are plotting against Kyle's boo thing, Alyssa. It's going down. It's messy right now. But that's why I don't think Kyle uses that veto. I think Terrence or Indy leaves the game because I think production tells Kyle what's up. They're not going to let Kyle look that dumb. Come on. They'll let Daniel look dumb. They didn't invest a whole bunch into Daniel this season, clearly. I mean, the guy puts on eyeshadow every morning. Would you invest that much in Daniel? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Guy looks crazy in these streets. Man got more eyeshadow on than Avril Lavigne. I'm just saying what it is. Come on, man. Does Taylor have an inner Frenchie? Tempest asks. No, but you got to understand, she has been through the ringer in this game. To go from the complete bottom, I mean bottom of the bottom, I'm talking the gully. You know what I mean? I'm talking the bottom. And then to make your way to the top like that. You feel me? She legit has been in the Squid Game, dog. She started off as the girl that was scared during the whole red light, green light. Now she the one ready to stab her best friend for the check. You feel it, dig me? But see, well, let me tell you about it. She not ready just yet to stab for the check. She's basically, right now she's in that little marble game with the old man trying to get over, should I be nice still or should I just be a gamer, right? That was the turning point of Squid Game for the main character. Should I be heartless with this old man? Should I take advantage of his senile-ism? Or should I keep letting him dog walk me with these marbles, knowing damn well he can't outlast me in these next few stages? I might as well start to cheat a little bit. You know, I think Taylor's at that crossroads right now. But I do believe she will grow from this moment, okay? I believe she's got a lot on her plate. Production's calling her into the DR all the time. She got all these chips bags, all these sponsorships. A lot of pressure on this lady. That's no excuse. But with that said, she didn't completely ruin this week. She wasn't stubborn. She listened to her alliance. When they gave her wise counsel, she followed suit and did what was best for her game. And that's all that really matters. Because the same way people will defend Michael and Brittany and say, all they're doing is discussing options. It's not like they decided on it or anything. Give them a break. Same thing should apply to Taylor somewhat here. Yes, Indy was crazy, man. Paul says, hey, Coach, great rant. Unpopular opinion. I think Taylor's making a mistake in going after Terrence because he doesn't do anything. I think she should have gone after Jasmine. Who are you rooting for? And see, Paul, you have a point there. Why say you won't go after Jasmine because she's black, but be willing to take out Terrence when he's black? It creates a weird dichotomy that's hard for the players around you to follow. Because in their mind, they're supporting you for playing pro-black, but you're not playing pro-black when it comes to Terrence. Also, what's the point of singling out Jasmine as not touching the block because she's black if you're just going to promise safety to all the other women when they're not black? It creates a weird situation there where it's like, are you just looking for an excuse to not piss off any girl, right? And once people start to question that your reasonings aren't legit, then they'll start to make plans outside of you and start to think that you're scheming outside of them. And that's what we don't want. And that's why I'm happy in the end she course corrected herself back to the right decision. Now, Paul, I agree. I don't think taking out Terrence this week is the best move for her game either. But that's exactly why if Kyle uses that veto and Alyssa gets backdoored, she's starting to pad her resume stats. So listen, it can go one or two ways. She takes out Terrence and no one can ever create the argument that she's playing with some cookout alliance. Or everything flips. She takes out Alyssa over Joseph and the fans celebrate it because Taylor has a big move on her plate, on her resume. It can only go one or two ways. But one thing is for sure, though. I'd be worried that Kyle would want to straight up blow everything up to just avenge Alyssa after that. And if he goes into that bag, we don't know. He might go back to Caldemort. That's all I'm saying. He might go back to Caldemort. He might turn into Tom Mavallo Riddle again. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see Tom Riddle again. But he just might show up. Abdi asked the question, do you think Kyle will make himself a target by going against the 7 to protect Alyssa by not using Veto? Well, here's the thing. I assume but see, that's the thing. If they don't tell Kyle, they plan to backdoor Alyssa, and that becomes the move. They either have to put it all on Taylor and make it seem like she went rogue, like she's Turner, which is not going to fly with Kyle because he believes he's closer to Turner, Brittany, and Michael than he is to Taylor. So from his point of view, he's not going to buy that Taylor did all of this with no backup. That's just not going to make sense, especially when Taylor showcased herself to kind of be behind on what the strategy she should have implemented was at the beginning of the week. He's not going to believe she came up with all of this on her own. He's going to believe this plan was incepted into her brain. So they got to fill Kyle in on the plan, and they have to make sure he's okay with the plan. But if he's not okay with the plan, he's going to tell them he values her more than the rest of them. So he has to be okay with the plan to an extent. It's either you put your foot down and declare war. But see, if you put your foot down and declare war, you're only getting rid of numbers that you and Alyssa would need in Terrence or Indy. Damn, Kyle's kind of trapped. And I'll repeat, the reason why he's trapped is because the edit went out of their way to show Kyle on Thursday night. He went out of his way to blame Alyssa for why he contemplated wanting to turn on Monte in the 7. So at the end of the day, he can't really afford to put his foot down now for Alyssa when he just blamed her for what happened and said he's loyal to the 7, not Alyssa. It will just be the biggest contradiction from an editorial standpoint. And I don't know if production can afford to keep trying to be defense attorneys for Kyle DeMort. At a certain point, you got to tell Kyle, listen, man, you either got to let her go or you got to own up to your villainous side. Like, one of the two, bro. But you can't have it both ways no more. So it's going to be interesting. Abdi asked a question. Oh, no, I already answered that. Sorry. Yeah, this would be 4 straight backdoors in a row, Tev. That's pretty insane. I thought these twists was incentivizing the backdoors, but now that the game has been reset to a normal week for 1 week, it's still being played this way. Dang, man. Dang. James said, forget lottery, get some crypto instead. Hey, man, that's some great advice, James. You know I was just cracking a joke, but I appreciate the advice, though. I'm always going to take in the game when y'all give it. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here tonight. Dominique says she doesn't think Jazz will vote Joe out either now, that Jazz thinks Taylor not that close to him and put him on the block. If it works out, the heat would be off Taylor from the girls and also the fake showmans. Dominique, let's be real. Those girls will never take the heat off Taylor. They will never do it. They do not want Taylor to outlast all of them. I mean, it was one time I heard Jasmine, I think she said, I just want to be the last girl left. That's the mentality, or the woman-tality, that Jasmine has now. She's in, I just want to be the last girl left now. She went from being, I have a girls' alliance that's going to dominate this game, to saying, all y'all can leave except me now. That tells you how much the goalpost has moved. Yes, the Roots Fire. You already know, Tev. One of the greatest Fight Night songs of all time. I think it was Fight Night Champion. Joseph does need to start attending more meetings, Rod. I agree with you on that. I think he will after this week, because if Alyssa gets backdoored, there's no point of him entertaining that Fly Swatters alliance ever again. Because Alyssa, in theory, once she's gone, him and Kyle, well, especially Kyle, he has no connection to that side anymore. And the jig is up after that. You know what I'm saying? The jig is up, you know. Then Joseph would be the only person on that side. He wouldn't even have Kyle to cover for him with him, and that would just make Joseph into a bigger target. So in my opinion, yes, this should be the week that Joseph pulls out. No pregnancy. Yes, please smash that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Do not underestimate the ingenious of this rant. Trust me, when you watch the episode tomorrow, you're going to be like, whoa, he broke down a whole bunch of kind of complicated stuff really quick. Yes, Mila. Listen. This is what people love about me. When it's time for me to defend you, there's not that many people going to do a better job. It's like Gullah Gullah Island. I get as much love as Benya Benya. Oh, now that's a bar right there. If you know, you know. I'm taking y'all back with that line. I'm taking y'all back. Gullah Gullah Island. You feel it, dig me? Yes, I'm well cultured, ladies and gentlemen. Every rant must have at least one retro reference. Kyle's knows when she was ready to vote him out when they tried to turn the house and keep Daniel. He already told leftovers, and it's free game now. That's true, though. Kyle did realize that Alyssa almost had her head turned by Daniel a bit. And Joseph did bring this up on feeds, like all this fly swatter talk. They include Kyle in the new alliance, but they literally had this same alliance, but with Daniel in it, trying to get Kyle out days ago. So it just goes to show how fake that side of the house is. They literally try to wrap themselves around a player that they can hold up as someone who's protecting them, so that person gets attacked before they do. That's what they do. They search for someone, they leech off them, then that person comes to the forefront as the biggest target in the house. That's at least how Joseph sees their game. And if we're being honest, outside of Ameerah, Nicole and Daniel were both propped up as shields for that side. When in reality, I could create the argument that Nicole and Daniel didn't even want to be shields for that side necessarily. It was the power vacuum of doom that forced them to be. Yes, Gullah Gullah Island was legendary. Let's keep it a bean. The kids these days don't get the same level of greatness on television. They're so impatient. They ain't never sat down and enjoyed some great culture. You know? Monte and Joseph, the closest to Tay going to get on code players in the house. And see, that's the thing. Monte didn't want Terrence to lead this week. If Terrence somehow outlasts Alyssa, we got to admit it, Monte pulled off a masterclass. Because in theory, even though Michael and Brittany both wanted Alyssa to go before Nicole, they wanted Alyssa to go before Nicole back then because they thought they could do more with Nicole than Alyssa. Now that Nicole and Daniel is gone, I could create the argument Michael and Brittany kind of need Alyssa to take a shot at the people they can't. For them to be willing to take out Alyssa before a Terrence or before an Indy, that tells me Michael and Brittany, they've course corrected a bit again, and now they're all in on the 7 again after being willing to turn on Joseph. So, man, this is why I'm saying this season, I can't take 3 days off in a row. If I do, I'm lost. I must stay glued to the feeds. I must. It is what it is. Rod says, Turner snitched on Alyssa, telling him about Kyle. Oh, yeah, Turner also did do that. He's right. He did do that. Kyle looked like a little salty. He even shitted on Donald Trump a little bit, which I'm sure got Kyle in a little dulo twist a little bit. I'm sure he didn't feel that too much. Kyle might kick Turner out of his late game plans now. I don't know. Oh, man. Kyle might be ready to lose her, but I don't know. I'll need to see him on feeds tonight to see how you really thinking. And see, that's the thing, Kyle, man. Listen, man, you're the guy who wanted Daniel to make jury. If a week later you're the guy who wants Alyssa to be the first jury boot, that tells me you're horny beyond belief, bro. You want that, what does Terrence call it? You want that, what does he call it? That pressure cooker? That's what you want, bro. You want that thing slow cooking for you in sequester. I know what you want, Kyle. You ain't fooling nobody. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to scroll up and see if y'all got any more questions, but I'm just happy y'all enjoying yourselves tonight. Please don't forget to smash that like button. If you enjoyed this rant, don't hesitate to hit that Cash App. I'm going to go on Patreon to see if anyone has any comments. Oh, Ray Toria says he's glad I did this rant. Salute to you, Coach. Hey, man, when I hear y'all say y'all can't wait for my next rant, I know that's a key. That's a giveaway that y'all need Thanos to show up real quick, unleash some Infinity Stones, and go about my merry long way. So I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and bring balance back to society on this Saturday night. Hopefully y'all are still sober. It's a little early, but at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, those were my thoughts on so far on this week. Based off what people are saying in the live chat, it seems like Alyssa could be a target over Joseph, which if you would have told me that before I went live, I would have said hallelujah. But I am happy I went live not knowing that because I was able to explain everything with the type of focus that I needed to get you all to see that Joseph almost made a monumental blunder. I'm Dave Smith with Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. And thank you so much for tuning in to another live episode. If you could, please don't forget to hit that like button, comment underneath this video, and share it with all the fans of Big Brother 24 that you rock with. What are your thoughts? Is it best for Taylor's game to take out Alyssa now? I think it is. Do you think it's best for Taylor that Terrence and Indy make it to another week because both are less likely to win an HOH during the double? I also believe that's the best play. Are you excited that the 7 are sticking together? At least it looks that way. couple of weeks ago, I would have thought they would have been flipped on each other by now. I'm also very happy that Taylor was able to win the one normal HOH of the season. Let's be real. This is the only HOH that's been normal. Well, I guess week 2 was normal, huh? The week Pucciarelli left. Because that was when they ended the backstage. Okay, so maybe that was the only other week the game was normal. Outside of that, so technically, Taylor and Jasmine are the only 2 normal HOHs this season, and both happen to be black women. So that's something the sisters can take home as well. But give me your thoughts on this week. Were you nervous? Did you have that lemon booty? Or were you confident that the 7 would course correct like they always tend to do? You know, the 7 remind me of the A-Team. You know, you might get that one episode where it's an opposition, a malicious getting the better of them, but every now and then Mr. T steps up and he sends someone to the shadow realm and people follow behind him. I'm not saying Monty's Mr. T here, but listen, if Alyssa leaves this week, I got to give the credit to Monty the most, because Turner shouldn't want her gone. Kyle shouldn't want her gone. Michael shouldn't want her gone. Brittany shouldn't want her gone. And those 4 are working with Monty to take her out. All I'm saying is, I think it's time we need to start giving more credit and clout to this brother Monty, because he's pulling off a Mazza if somehow Taylor Hale brings that hell to high water to Alyssa's front door. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to see y'all on the flip side. Deuces. Until next time.